States have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The future president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
We just try to stay out with what we see on the news. Seems like it's for the best.
All right. I have been waiting with bated breath to watch this film ever since the trailer first came out, probably about 6 months ago. We were in the early days of the reboot of Real Reviews. Me and Eddie, I think Dad Panther was here. I think Iris was here. And we watched the trailer and I was immediately excited. How did you guys feel, when we played that trailer for the first time on the show? Or do y'all even remember that?
I was very animated. Is that it? Yeah, I was very animated. I was excited about it. It was my kind of thing. Yeah. So me, I was actually, I was a little uneasy. Some of it reminded me of my time in Utah. So it was, for me, I wasn't sure if this was going to be a good thing or if this was going to start something.
Iris?
I was like, that's the exact face when I saw the trailer, because I like movies like that. I like action. I like anything about pertaining to war, whether it's fictional or not. And I was actually really excited to see this movie just based off the trailer. So
Got you. All right. So we're going to move into the highs and lows. Is there any particular person that wants to take the lead off on this, or right? Anybody jumping out there? All right. So I don't want Eddie to start. So calm down, buddy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick this off. Probably one of my most anticipated films of 2024. Let me say that off top. I invited many people, probably at least 10 people, to watch this film with me and Fame. And everybody, and I'm talking about 9-10 people, of the 10 people I asked, said no for the same reason. Yo, I feel like if I watch this is how is shit really going to happen. And I'm afraid of this, and I'm afraid. And I'm like, so you don't want to watch a movie because you feel like it's going to happen in real life? That's weird. So then the other part is just people feeling like, yo, I just feel like this is going to be more of that Republican propaganda. And I was like, really? And I was like, okay, I'm scratching my head. But then as I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I guess the Republicans are talking about taking their country back and doing whatever it takes. And it did give me some pause, but then I realized that I'm an intelligent human being and that's just a ridiculous concept. So then I'm like, all right, cool, let's go to the movies. And if it is, I mean, shoot, we just saw Terminator Jesus 7 months ago. So I mean, whatever, it is what it is. So Terminator Devil and Savior. All right, we're not going to get back into that bag. This movie was not what I expected it to be. Yo, the number one thing I can tell you guys right now, if you're going to see a film just focused on Civil War, that's not what this movie is about. Civil War is a character in the movie. Ain't that crazy? The Civil War is a character. It's a part of the storyline. It comes in and out as it pleases. It's very aggressive, very abrasive, very in your face. The Civil War is a mirror on the weird social dichotomy that is America. Because I think that us as Americans, we have this weird, no matter whether you're in the middle of the country or you're in New York or whether you're in LA, we all have this very Disneyland concept of what America is. Even though we'll watch 60 million hours of murder mysteries and 60 million hours of horror movies that are based on true stories, like we don't ever attach the horror that we see and the racism, the inequality, the disrespect. We don't ever equate that to America. For whatever reason, somehow we've disassociated the realities of what our country has done and continues to do from the concept of the the dream concept that we have of America. And I'm saying that because that's the reason why all of these people didn't want to go to the movies with me, because they were like, I don't want this film to destroy this fantasy I have that is America. Mind you, when I stop talking, they're going to tell me I'm wrong. Probably, maybe not. I don't know. But this is just my point of view. So I saw the film, and in the film, I'm like, yo, this Civil War is a beautiful thing because I love the fact that there's so many nuanced details that aren't there that allow us to stay focused on what the purpose of the story is. I'll give you an example. They never tell you whose fault it is for this Civil War. They don't give you any details about how it happened. You just exist in this short little window of time where this group of reporters are rushing to do an interview with this president. Yes, they go into details about what side is which, but they don't tell you, like, there's really no map. Now I have a map that I downloaded from somebody that just came up with something. So this is the map that they said. I don't know if this is confirmed or not. So it's like the New People's Army, Loyalist States, Florida Alliance, Western Forces. So it's essentially really the Western Forces versus the Loyalist States, if I'm correct. So, and you see a lot of shocking imagery. The story is really about this group of reporters. There are two reporters that are in the same company. Their job is to go to New York to try to get this interview with the president. There's another reporter that's not trying to go to New York. I mean, I'm fucking up. They're going to DC. They're going to DC to interview the president. I apologize. I had Iris on my brain. So I'm thinking that she's the president in New York, but she's not. She's the president of Puerto Rico. The president in the movie is the president of DC, and these niggas trying to go see that. All right, now I got it straight. So then there's another reporter that doesn't want anything to do with DC. He like, look, nigga, I just need a ride. You could dump me off way away from all of this shit. I'm going to cover a different story. And there's even kind of like this little newsy competitiveness because they didn't even really want to tell each other what their objectives was and what they were going to do until they kind of broke down while they were getting drunk and being like, all right, fuck it. This is what I'm trying to do. And others like, oh, we're going to do this. So they were kind of like, all right, fuck it. We'll help you out. And then there's also a tag along that ends up coming. That's a young lady that's a photographer. And she wants to be a wartime photographer. That's her dream. Side note, weird fucking dream, but we're going to move on with that. She comes from a family with money when you want to spend your life doing some shit where you ain't really going to make no fucking money. And there's a very high probability of death. We'll get into that later. So this is actually a road film. Hey, nigga, we getting on the road. We're going to make some shit happen. We're going to have some good times, drink some beer, have some unbridled sex, roll around in the grass for some nude scenes. We'll see some breasts, some lovemaking. It was supposed to be a great thing, man. They were probably going to go see a festival, that's what I was expecting. I'm like, man, this is, you know how road trips are. You got to have your beer, you got to have some food. You know what I mean? We're going to have some deep conversation about ourselves and our feelings. And, yeah, it wasn't that at all. No. You see this group of people drive through this country that is torn, not completely apart, but it's fractured. And there are so many people that are all dealing with this fractured nation in different ways. And there's this discussion going on between this group that is driving across country that is so deep, because it's not just about conversations about career. It's not just conversations about what they feel like the purpose of the country is and what their future. We're talking about layers upon layers of deep philosophical shit that some of it makes sense to me, and some of it, I think some of it still goes over my head. And it's one of those things that makes me want to go back and watch the movie again. There are some really great sound design going on here. There are literal moments when everybody in the theater went, God damn it. Like, there are multiple times where you will jump. There's so many graphic moments. They do not turn the camera. Now, it's not Eddie Gruesome where he can't watch it. You know what I mean? They're not like just ripping open shit and blood and sky, but they're not turning the camera away from somebody catching that shot. And that motherfucker, you see a lot of graphic stuff. I mean, you see America at its worst. You know what I mean? They really show you the seedy underground of our culture in a very vivid, and it's not played up. They don't make it like these gruesome, crazy scenes. There's no like scary music. Boom, 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 boom. It's none of that. It's a sunny, shiny day and some goofy shit happens, and then fuck, you know what I mean? And the shit just goes left, and you are literally holding on to your seat because ain't no police, ain't no 911, nigga. You know what I'm saying? And you got to deal with shit. Figure it out, nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, the highs of the film is everything, man. The lows of the film is, I really feel like I wanted to know more about the Civil War. I understand why they didn't. I'm not beefing about, for real, I'm not beefing why I didn't get any details and they didn't get into it, because that's not the purpose of the film. But they did such a good job of building this world and taking us through it. I wanted to spend 2 more days in this motherfucker. Like, I wanted to see how each side had built up. You know what I mean? There's so much that went unsaid that I wanted to get into, and they didn't. The next thing is, I've seen other reviewers say that they felt like the storyline was a little weak because they felt like the main characters were just jabbering on, and it just does this little thing, and they felt like they needed more. I felt like the film really hit me in a very deep way. I'm getting older. They're talking about people sacrificing their lives for something that they believe in, having these careers, and you becoming almost like a robot to this passion that you have. And this passion is almost like an addiction, for real. And that hit me there in a very deep way, because I'm very addicted to what I'm doing right now that I make no money off of. So like, it's a beautiful story, and it has this very strong message at the end, and it's not spelled out. They're not telling, there's no fade to black with a paragraph of, and in the end, we've learned that man's life is short and da-da-da. It's not that. It's like the shit happens and you're like, God damn. So with that being said, man, I'm blown away by this film. I had white people. I had an older black woman and her husband next to me, and on the other side of us we had a white couple, and there was so much dialogue. It was definitely no racism like it was in the other film I watched. There was just so much, like, it was so impactful to everybody, and nobody was jumping up being loud. We were all sitting there at the end of the film. It took at least 3-4 minutes into the credits for niggas to start getting up, because I think everybody was just so weighed down with the weight of the film. You know what I mean? So that's my opinion. Who wants to go next?
So I'll jump in here. So so my highs for the movie, with everything that you shared, Jay, I really have to agree. I was really like at the edge of my seat. the movie was so intense. You felt so immersed in what was going on, and I feel like our characters within the movie, it was realistic how real people would react to war, and just the exhaustion of however long the war has been going on, especially, as a journalist. And you're right, like, you basically have to become a robot for in order to do this job. Like, there's no like, oh god, someone died. Yeah, no, we get take a picture and we got to share it with the world. Somebody died, take the picture, keep it pushing. And Kristen Dunst's character in this movie is so like the exhaustion, like, of
Mm-hmm.
course I've never been in war,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like I can feel it just projecting off of her in the screen. Just and then here comes the other young lady there that she just seemed like happy joy, like, yay, I want to be a photojournalist. Like, yeah, I started like you. Look at this now. You see the exhaustion, you see the pain that I've gone through, like, you don't know. And it was so intense, and it's like there were times where I and my mother who came with me were just I was crying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's just like the pacing of the movie I felt was good. That there are all different sides to the action. It's not just the war and the guns, but it's like just like random people and what they're doing to protect their own, and on how crazy people have become due to this war. And it's real. Like, I can really see, like, god forbid something like that were to ever happen to this day. Like, I could really see, like, every bit of part of that movie being so true in real life. And I know, as Jay had previously mentioned, they don't really give you the reason for the Civil War, but there were some tidbits that I paid attention to. Like, how they, in the movie, they state how the president is on his third term. How the fuck? When you're only allowed 2 terms, each term 4 years, 8 years in total. And then another piece was how Sammy, the older gentleman that was writing with them, how they're like, he's talking about them getting this interview with the president. And basically he's like, this is bullshit for you to try to do, because I mean, think about it. I mean, when he mentioned like Mussolini and Hitler, which were both fascist dictators. So for me, I felt like they were trying to kind of say, like, hey, the problem here is that the president is a fascist. He has somehow taken over the country completely, and he has somehow been able to stay in office for a third term already. So I feel like that's what they were trying to hint at, and California and Texas was not having it. And I really enjoyed how our characters, they didn't really specify a side. It's like they really didn't care who won. They just really needed this story. And I thought that part was interesting, because I felt like that really screamed how numb they became as people. Like, how do you not have a side? How do you not feel some type of way on how your country is going? Like, has this job really torn you down so badly that it's just about the story, and that's it. um I the movie was, I feel like, more of of like an emotional and mental roller coaster, um because it really makes you think how are things going on today in our society, you know and I feel like this movie really showed us an option of, maybe a hypothetical possibility of how crazy things could get, you know? Um, And a part of that scared me, even just watching, like, knowing I'm watching a movie, and it really, like, it really hit me hard. So I feel like I feel like, you know, a lot of people who have decided, oh, I don't want to see this movie, I'm unsure of this movie, oh, I don't think it's going to be a good movie, they should really go ahead and watch it. Because it really does make you think, especially in connection to today is society and how things are going and how our country isn't, I wouldn't say broken, but we are fractured in many ways. My only lows is, I would have to say I wish they would have went into more detail instead of you having to try to piece together, like, oh, the possibilities of how the war could have started. I really wish they would have went into more detail um in regards to that, or at least give us, like, in the beginning, blah blah blah, and then we go into the movie, like, oh, years later as the Civil War has been happening. um but yeah, like, I really enjoyed the movie. So those were my only lows in regards to this movie. Other than that, writing, actors, the action, pace of the movie, really good, flawless to me. I think they did a really good job with this movie.
All right, all right, all right. I'm only gonna offer a smidge of pushback before I let the other guys jump in. I enjoyed the fact that they didn't say anything, because I feel like that added to the tension of the film. Not knowing anything, it's almost like you are waking up in this world, and now you're trying to be orientated into it, and subsequently now you're going along, kind of on this. You're in the car with these people, and you're learning as they're talking. And I think that was and that's what kind of made it more intense for me. But Eddie, what are you thinking?
Like Walking Dead.
Yes. Yeah.
For me, I honestly, I think that they didn't give us the beginnings of it because that would cause the audience to pick a side or feel some type of way, or it may alienate a certain audience that was worried it was gonna be this. Then you choose who's right or wrong. Right now, with it just being where the Civil War's happened, these are the two sides, and this is the story. You don't have to worry about alienating or pushing any propaganda or agenda. At least that's personally how I feel about. I feel like that's the best way to go forward. Highs for me, I thought it was beautiful. They had a lot of great cinematic shots. I thought they captured a lot of intensity, a lot of moments, where they were really trying to immerse you and bring you in with the way it looked. I thought they did a great job of, again, like I said, not saying who's right or who's wrong, just giving you this atmosphere to make sure that you've just focused on the journalists and their story. I felt like they also did a really good job of capturing the type of people that could be, that you would come across throughout the country in this scenario, in this situation. Like I said, when I watched the trailer and the guy said, "Hey, we're American," he said, "Yeah, but what kind of American are you?" That took me back to some time when I was in Utah during the 2020 election. There's some people out there, and I know you guys feel like this is like far-fetched from happening, but I feel like this is actually right under the surface, where there's people, not just everyday people, but people high up in office and everything, that would not mind seeing what would happen if they overturn things. Example, January 6th. I think that there's people that want to go on this scale. This is why I was concerned about the movie. So I understand people's cautious, worried about, is it going to make them feel something, or are they going to be entertained, or are they going to feel like they're going to get propaganda or whatever. But fortunately, it didn't do that. Like you said, it was, the Civil War is just a character. It's the setup for the story of the journalist. And so I was really appreciative of how well they shot it, how they showed them traveling, and the different atmospheres, the different levels of intensity, the different type of people that they came across, because not everybody was on one side, not everybody was on another. But as far as my lows, this movie with the characters, I felt like there was a lot of moments that bothered me, where I was taken out of the film because of
some of the writing with the characters or because of some of the scenarios. I was very bothered at the fact that they were giving Kirsten Dunst a hard time about not wanting to expose this young girl, and they keep telling her, well, you were the same way. And she said, and basically I immediately yelling at the screen, yeah, look how fucked up she is. This is what she's trying to prevent. Y'all acting like you know something's wrong with Kirsten Dunst. You know she's been through a lot, PTSD, and she's not, and so she's trying to prevent this girl. And then we immediately find out that the girl is not ready for what she's getting, and so that throws me. I mean, I understand that was cool, but I wanted, when I get scenarios like this, I want more of that bottom line, I told you so type situation. And we didn't get it. That was bothering me. And a lot of the different things with the characters and the decisions were throwing me off, and it kept taking me out where I was more annoyed than I was actually enjoying the story. I was annoyed that they've been in this scenario for God knows how long, and they were actually not prepared for the type of people that they came across. Like, they were very naive about it, and the only one person that was trying to give them common sense was the old black guy, which nobody ever listens to. You know what I'm saying? And they were actually being very, in my opinion, reckless in the situation. And I'm surprised they didn't expect to come across these type of people. But then again, actually, after hearing you guys' perspective of how you think this will never happen, now it kind of makes sense that there's people who actually just haven't had certain experiences, based on the experience I had in Utah, which I'm not going to turn this into that type of episode, but I experienced that, especially during the 2020 election. I experienced it hardcore, where I wasn't sure if I was going to make it out of that situation or go to prison. And so that kind of stuff is everywhere. And for them to think we're just going to mosey on and just go show up on the front lawn of the White House, it bothered me. And so everything they were doing, flashing their press pass, which really didn't mean shit to anybody. They go to a stadium, there's a lady with a notebook and one little girl, they stop them like they're the checkpoint. What if I didn't want to show you my badge? What if I came in guns blazing? There was no checkpoint there to protect those people. So it was like, you're showing me this structure or this certain atmosphere, this world that is not, it's not legit. It's bullshit. That little girl waving her hand and then being like, yeah, let me see your press pass. And the girl clipboard, okay, fine, you can come in, but there's no tents. Like, who are you really fucking stopping? If I wanted to come in there and just do what the fuck I wanted, you couldn't stop me. And then they're riding around with press on the truck, trying to ask people questions about the war. Like, everybody's doing their thing. Like, you just need to focus on you. And I was really bothered. I felt like these characters didn't really know who they wanted to be or what world they were in. And then I can't say too much because I don't want to spoil, but one of the characters had very big emotional reactions to certain people that moved on, but had very zero reaction to somebody who appeared to be the ride or die, and that really bothered me. And in this movie, I wish that the ending would have flipped. I wish that would have been that I told you so moment, or early on, I would have been okay with somebody at that stature, having something play out like that. And again, I don't want to spoil, but this is one of those situations where I couldn't really be intense. I couldn't really fear for anything because I knew certain characters were going to make it all the way to the last 10 minutes. So it took me out of it. I was more annoyed that they allowed themselves to get in that situation. And I don't want to beat a dead horse about it, but Kirsten Dunst, I do want to shout her out though. She really, whatever her character was feeling, she sold it. And I feel like they cast it well. She carried the movie, everything she was feeling, the transition she was going through, in the first few minutes, I whispered something to the Dad Panther. I'm not gonna say because again, that could potentially spoil, but I got a vibe of something, and they didn't actually confirm it, but it still kind of led to it, and hopefully we can have that discussion in another platform. I
definitely want to have a spoilery discussion about this shit. God
Absolutely.
damn. There's a bunch of shit you just said that I have responses for, but go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, I kept getting pulled out of the situation. That I feel like the last thing I'll say that's really big for me is where the movie ended, and that's where they found this person that would have had all kinds of resources that we know from other things to have been long gone and misled everybody. I would have liked some kind of dialogue to explain why that person was still available there, why this ended here. Because in my opinion, if you're not going to explain anything, then it's going to be like, okay, bullshit. I mean, this beekeeper all over again. Like you, you gotta open check, but all this stuff is already on the government payroll. So we immediately call bullshit. And so now you're saying, you know, this person with the world at the fingertips has no way to get out of this situation. I don't believe that. And that took me out of it too. It just fucked up the movie for me. So that's all I got.
Got you. All right. Dad Panther, it's all you, boss.
Oh man. So Civil War, movie that had a lot of hype for. I would say the highs of it, and without going into detail, because you guys all did a great job on it. It was the casting, it was the viewpoints that they would give you from the perspective of them sitting in the backseat of the vehicle, and then you have that camera that kind of comes through and catches the smoke, watching the tracers in the background, and these are areas that, you know, I believe Atlanta, Georgia was the spot that they were making some of these shots at. But I believe visually, and the sound effect they gave you for the guns going off and just debris and carnage, you felt that, and it was real. And I see that as that's a plus for this movie, with some standout, you know, acting from Dunst and the gentleman with the red glasses. It was very eerie to hear that scene, that in the trailer, you thought you knew what he meant by what kind of American you are, which triggers that temperature that we're in the country right now. But it was much deeper. And you can hear them when they make the comment of, I'm from Missouri, I'm from this, and I'm from Florida. It's the act of survival, not necessarily, it just didn't hold up. And that's why I'll go with the bad stuff. It just, the world they built, maybe it's just because I've read a lot of books that, you know, talk about stuff like that, not necessarily the past, but the future. Maybe because there's podcasts like It Can Happen Here. That's a podcast about the Second Civil War, where they go into detail. It's a 10-part episode, and they break it down. They make it feel real with as much facts as possible. And I can't remember the book, but when Katrina hit, there was a neighborhood where it was lawlessness, and they did their own thing. And it was just like some of these other things, if you experienced it, even if you lived in an area that had gun violence, you've seen certain things. So I can see the shock value for a lot of people who've never seen this stuff before, never played around a Call of Duty or something like that. But there were other movies that grabbed me more to what this movie was trying to do, like The Photographer, which is now on, I think it's National Geographic. It's 10 or 8 episodes, and it follows the life of photographers taking pictures in nature. And there's countless movies like that that kind of put people in that limelight. But to go back to the war and how that was on film, to me, I think Black Hawk Down, that gut wrenching feeling, the fact that the location was just as much as a character, just like Jay said, the Civil War being a secondary character. Bushwick, which was a movie with Batista, and there was someone else in it. That movie didn't get enough love and credit for the fact that the realism that showed in that movie, and that pacing, and just the camera angles that they were giving you on that. For this movie to get all the way down to the finish line, and I won't spoil it, it became something different where they focused on, instead of visually, they were giving you audio. And I felt like it was a bit much. The realism, again, this country has multiple allies. This country has multiple vets and different organization and branches. And just, it doesn't take long to think, even if we fractured at certain points to what they were showing, just there was no realism. Watching tracers go back and forth in the background, not being someone who served, but someone with some common sense, that costs a lot of money. I don't know what civilians are sitting there riding around in these vehicles. And so I understand what Lingo's saying, that the world they built doesn't feel real. It feels like it's a real gun that's sitting at somebody's, you know, table, and you check it and the parts of it is plastic and it doesn't have any ammunition in it. And it's not to say that it's not dangerous for one way or the other, but the other part that I would say was a significant, you know, drawback was, it's just, you sold a lot of people on that whole Civil War. And again, there's a lot of people who haven't seen stuff, and they're gonna be like, wow, this is what the moment is. But it's just like, you didn't go all the way in. You played it safe with the issues. It's nice that you took the route of the photographer and the journalist, but there was moments where even the people in the war were saying things like, no, I don't know who I'm trying to kill, but they're trying to kill me. Like, you're in the act of war. So that moment where they were just naive and not smart, there was story-driven plots that would happen where a character would take significant damage. And you're like, but if you think about how that happened, it really didn't make any sense. Like that, like I couldn't understand how that happened, or certain things you realize happen afterwards. And I just think that if you enjoy it, you enjoyed it. I did enjoy the movie. It just wasn't as impactful as I thought it was going to be. I thought I would leave the theater thinking something, feeling something, and I just didn't.
All right. I think we've lectured out this movie. So let's get down to the review section before everybody falls asleep. What's your rating? Is it a classic, good watch, catch on streaming, not doing for me? Oh hell no! Or if you ever show me this again, I will slap you. All right, so boop 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 boop. Dad Panther, kick it off, my brother. What rating? Since you're the most disappointed out of the four of us, what rating are you giving us today?
I'm not gonna say disappointed. I think you guys have all had some really good points, so I'm gonna peel back a little further. And I think it's a stretch to say that someone's gonna watch this 1, 2, or 3 times. It's gonna get its money. It's gonna make its money. That's for sure. I'm gonna say it's catch it on streaming.
Okay, I like that. All right, Iris, where you going with it, fam? Unmute yourself, my dear.
Have household dwellers, so I'm actually gonna give it a good watch, just a little bit more than catch it on streaming, but I do have to agree, because for me, because of how intense I kind of felt and uneasy, it's not something that I'm like, oh, I gotta see it again and again and again. I saw it, I know it happened, it messed with me emotionally, I'm good.
Got you. I'm normally like that with slave movies and racial shit like that. That's the type of shit I'll be like, I won't even watch it nowadays, but when I was younger, I would watch it and be like, all right, I've seen it. I've said I've seen it, and I'm not gonna, this is a little different for me. Like I want to see this again, and I'm like, I want to go back and kind of look at it with Dad Panther's glasses. Because like there's so much stuff that I didn't pick up on that he's right. That's just number one, I'm stupid. I don't know these things. And number two, I wasn't, when I be in movies, I be immersed. So I'm not trying to figure out if it's real or not. I'm just in the car for the ride. You know what I mean? So like, but everything he said, very true. So now I'm gonna go back and just be like, yep. Nope. All right, movie lingo. Where are we going with it, boss?
For me, I know it sounded like I was going to dog it, but I still think people need to watch it. I was distracted a lot and bothered by stuff, but I say catch on streaming.
All right. All right, let's see. What are my options? Classic, good one, catch on streaming, not doing. All right, let's just say it's a classic. Yeah. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. I'm not with these guys. I don't know them. I didn't come with them. I'm my own person. Yes. Classic. I definitely feel like every household should watch this. Your 4-year-old, strap them to the chair, pull their eyeballs open, and make them watch. This is serious business here. This is the future of our nation played out in a fictitious forum, obviously with some character flaws and holes. But come on, bro. When I watched Star Wars, there was a lot of shit that I was just like, this is some bullshit. But at the same time, I still goddamn had a blast. So shout out to that.
This one was smothered with it every other scene.
And you know what, Eddie? And I would love to have a spoiler discussion about this. Yes. For people that are more well-versed than others. And I feel like that's the key thing you said. For you in the place that you sit in society and the things you've seen and you've done, all right, you're like, oh man, this is bullshit. And the same thing with Dad Panther. Like, he liked guns. So, like, you know what I mean? Or he liked these different, he listened to these different things. So he's armed with different information going into the film. But once again, as an idiot that don't listen or watch any, don't read any of that shit. And I walk into the thing. I mean, but I have to be very realistic about the type of consumer I am. If it's like, if we were doing a music movie and they start talking lingo and shit, I'm gonna be picking that shit the fuck apart. And I'm gonna be like, man, this is some bullshit. That's some bullshit. That's some, like, and that's the reason why a lot of music bios, I don't even like watching them because there'd be so much bullshit involved in it. But like, you know, that's for me. But me walking into this, man, the storyline really caught me up. The characters really caught me. Yo, like you said, and I don't want to ramble on too long, but it was a Kirsten Dunst, whatever her name is.
Yeah, Kirsten Dunst.
I am not a fan of hers. This is the first time I really was like in love. I was like, yo, you killing it as an old chick. You know what I'm saying? Definitely would smash old Kirsten Dunst's tail. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you can get it. You know what I mean? I love you, babe. You did a great job. You know what I mean? You should have slapped the shit out of that little young bitch when you seen her. You know what happened that scene, right? When you see, like, what? But anyway, we're not going to get into that. So anyway, we hope that you guys check the film out, go in the comments and give us your opinions so that we can, you know, do what we do.